If you have ever wanted to improve your intimate relationships, specifically your marriage, and improve communication and just overall well-being in your marriage, then this is a video that you definitely want to watch. My name is Zaahida Mahomedy, and I am an emotional wellness life coach and a body talk practitioner. And I work with clients daily to help them improve their relationships and their overall quality of their lives. And today I'm going to be sharing specific information with you that can help to transform how you approach your marriage. If you have been following me for a while, then you know that I often speak about emotional intelligence. And by now, we all know about the benefits of emotional intelligence in our lives and how it can help you to be more successful, but also how it can help you in your relationships specifically. But have you ever thought about the concept of emotional intelligence within your marriage? Now, what do I mean by this? Well, there are specific strategies that we can use in our marriage and specific behaviors that can actually predict how well the marriage is going to go. Research shows that there are specific indicators or behaviors that can actually predict whether or not a marriage will thrive or will end in either divorce or severe marital conflict. Now you might ask, well, how on earth can something predict whether or not my marriage is going to work? So this is not psychic or fortune telling. This is simply looking at very specific behaviors that give us an indication of how the marriage is going to go. And it's quite simple when you really think about it. The kind of behaviors that we exhibit on a day-to-day level can basically predict where we're going in 5 to 10 years time. For instance, if you have someone who sits around on a couch all day eating donuts, not moving much and watching TV, you can pretty much predict over the long term, over 3 to 5 years, if they continue with this behavior consistently, you can predict what will happen to their cholesterol levels, their blood sugar levels, and other vital signs in their overall well-being. Likewise, if you have someone else who works out all the time, is quite active, eats pretty healthily, then over 3 to 5 years, you can kind of predict how their health and well-being is going to go. It's basically just looking at behaviors, because our behaviors or habit patterns actually create our future in a way. It gives us an indication of what is to come. Likewise, in marriages, there are specific behaviors that if you continue with over time can actually lead to a severe breakdown and severe marital conflict, if not divorce. Today, I'm going to be sharing exactly these behaviors with you so that you can take a closer look at your own marriage and your relationships overall and see where you might be exhibiting this kind of behavior and how you can start changing it so that you can start improving the communication in your relationship and just the overall peace and well-being in your relationship. Now, before I go into what the specific behaviors are that you need to avoid in your marriage, I want to also make it clear that from time to time, we're all human and you might exhibit these kinds of behaviors. The very important thing here is your awareness and your understanding that these are not behaviors that you should continue with. So the purpose of this video is to help make you aware and conscious of where you might be exhibiting these behaviors and treating your partner in this manner, so that when you're in that moment, you can actually catch yourself and choose a more responsible way, a more constructive way of responding to your first behavior that can accurately predict whether a marriage will fall into marital conflict or not is criticism. Now you might say, Zaahida, well, everybody criticizes someone in their marriage at some point. It's about finding constructive ways to tell your partner what you need or what you're not happy about without criticizing them. And there's a clear difference between communicating your needs and criticism. For instance, your need would go something like this. I'm really upset that you didn't fill petrol in the car and that you left it on empty. It really inconvenienced me. Going forward or tomorrow, can you ensure that you fill petrol? Because that would really help me out and I would really appreciate it. Can you see how I focused on the behavior or the action that I was not happy with? And I also provided a solution of how my partner could make it up to me. Criticism is very different, on the other hand. In the same situation, if I chose to be critical, it would probably go along the lines of this.
You left the petrol tank empty. You are so careless. You're so inconsiderate and selfish. All you care about is yourself. You never ever think of me. What is wrong with you?
The easiest way to spot where you might be using criticism is using words like you always, you never, and it's very you, where you're kind of focused on finding fault within your partner and you're actually criticizing and bringing down their character and who they are rather than focusing on the behavior or the action. So the key element here is that when you're trying to communicate your needs, rather focus on what the action that you didn't like was and how to rectify it, rather than attacking their character and just assassinating who they are, because that really strips them of their dignity. Think about how you feel when your partner does this to you, and how that makes you feel and how that makes you shut down and not want to engage with them. So it's a similar kind of thing. And sometimes we don't realize with our partners, we just kind of go into the same old rut-like thinking where we just start spewing out these things of you this, you that, you never, you always. And the famous one, what is wrong with you? I mean, nothing can feel worse to hear. The second behavior that is going to be corrosive and very detrimental to your marriage is communicating with contempt. Now, communicating with contempt is where we put on an air of superiority and try to demean our partner and make them less than. So let me explain what I mean here by speaking with contempt. For instance, in the example of not filling up petrol in the car, you would say something like, oh, I need you to fill up petrol tomorrow. Do you think you can handle something like that? Is that going to be okay for you? Are you going to manage? Speaking to your partner with contempt is deeply disrespectful and extremely hurtful to them. And obviously, they are going to respond with more negativity with you. And it's also an indication that you have long simmering negative thoughts about your partner, which is definitely not going to take you into a positive direction. So if you want your marriage to fail, continue to speak with contempt. However, if you want to change things around and improve your marriage, learn to communicate in a more emotionally intelligent way. Learn to communicate your needs more intelligently without needing to resort to criticism or contempt. The third communication strategy that will be detrimental to your marriage and that you need to avoid is defensiveness. Now, we all become defensive from time to time. And also remember that if you are speaking with contempt and criticism, the first two, then your partner is usually going to respond to defensiveness, and it just snowballs from there. But defensiveness sometimes can come even when your partner is not speaking to you with contempt or with criticism. It's where you go into a poor me victim kind of mentality, where you kind of go into, oh, you're picking on me.
You're just picking on me. You always find fault with me. Nothing I do is ever good enough for you. I'm always wrong. You're always right.
The thing to remember about defensiveness is that it only escalates conflict. It just makes it go down a bad path even faster. So defensiveness is something that you want to avoid. A lot of us, when our partners communicate to us what they're not happy about, we immediately go into defensiveness and we accuse them of never being happy with anything that we do. So when they point out one thing that they don't like that we're doing, we kind of go, well, nothing is ever good enough for you. And that's just unfair. So defensiveness is about playing the victim, and that's not going to get you anywhere that you actually want to go. So what I would suggest is, instead of getting defensive, listen to your partner, take some time to take it in and really bring more awareness and say, well, how can I respond to this without coming across as a victim? How can I respond to this so that I'm more solution focused instead of trying to make myself be the poor me? The fourth and final behavior that we're going to discuss today is one that will usually come after some time of the first three arriving. So it's not one that comes off straight off the bat. So you'll find often in newlyweds, it's not really there. But after years of using contempt and criticism, defensiveness and so on, that the fourth one usually arrives. And this is the one where there's been so much hurt, there's been so much negativity, the partners are not trusting each other, and this is called stonewalling. If you've ever been stonewalled, you know how hurtful it is. And this is where your partner literally retracts love and retracts attention. Where one partner is speaking their needs and the other partner stonewalls them. You just shut them out completely. You don't respond. You ignore them. Maybe you just have silent treatment for days or even weeks or even months. Yes, I have met couples who do it for months at a time. And it really is so, so unpleasant because it takes you away from the primary reason of a relationship, which is, when you think about it, what? Connection, love, belonging. So when stonewalling happens, all of these are taken away, and it's devastating for the partner who's on the receiving end. But the person who's usually doing the stonewalling usually feels like there's no other way for them to actually be in this relationship. And very often when couples have had years of practicing the first three, then stonewalling comes in an attempt to save the marriage, that we don't want to get divorced, so we'll start stonewalling, but that just escalates the problem even further. And these four behaviors, I want to explain to you that they really are like cancers in your marriage, that they can really break down and disintegrate the integrity of your marriage. So I've given you suggestions of how you could use alternative ways of communicating, because these four are definitely ones that you want to avoid. So having a healthy, happy marriage happens by choice, deliberate choice. Maybe you are exhibiting some of these behaviors, some of these communication strategies in your marriage right now. The key here is not to beat yourself up, but be aware of it and ask yourself, where am I doing this and how can I rectify it? How can I find a solution? How can I make it better? I hope that you have found this video helpful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Remember to share it. Remember to share it with family and friends who might benefit, and leave a comment below if you really enjoyed it. I've got lots more YouTube videos here, so feel free to peruse. And if you really want to get into my inner circle, I actually have a free Facebook group, a private Facebook group, where I go much more in depth, do exclusive lives, and it's a lovely supportive community. So I'll leave a link down below on how you can join there as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this benefits you and your partner in your marriage. Take care, and I will see you in my next video.